Yo, what up? How's it going? And welcome back for another video. Today's video, we're going to be doing a video on the best jungle queries for Season 10 by the numbers. So I've done the math, we've crunched the numbers. We're going to be looking at this stuff and talking about each query right here. So I look at the most popular 3 camp queries and the most popular 4 camp queries. We're going to compare the numbers and talk about what options you have with those queries and dive kind of deep into that type of stuff. The queries that we're not going to talk about is some of the more niche jungle pathing. So what I mean by that is kind of like the level 2 style paths that is very niche to a couple champions and some more niche scenarios. For example, like the path that's the red buff into level 2 gank mid, blue and Gromp, which is only applicable on a couple champions, and even with those champions in more niche scenarios, for example, like a champion like Jarvan and Xin Zhao can do that queer. They can do a red buff into a level 2 gank mid and then look for their blue and Gromp. We're not going to be talking about that type of query because it's pretty niche. We're looking at the more broad spectrum of jungling. Another example of a level 2 queer that you could possibly do would be the red buff red buff into a vertical jungle invading the opposing jungler's blue buff. But that's a little bit more niche to champions who have dashes in the early game and can play a little bit more aggressive. You know, champions like Nidalee, Jarvan, Graves, champions like that. We're not really going to be talking about those queers because they're pretty niche to those specific champions. We're going to talk more broadly about 3 camp queers and 4 camp queers. So I have this little chart that I've set up. Probably look better in Sheets, but I made it here. That is basically just going to be showing the estimated time that it will take to perform each of these queers, the amount of XP, gold you'll get, and how much time you'll have after that before the crab spawns that you can maybe get a gank off, or how much time you'd have to get ganks off, look for invades, or just set up and fight over the crab. We have that represented right here. One thing I'll say before we dive deep into each of the queers is this time estimate that I have is a time estimate because there's so many different jungle champions. Basically, the way I got these numbers is I'm doing research for a champion on Tarzan, Griffin Tarzan, not Tarzan. I'm doing a video on Tarzan, how he plays the jungle, and I got these timers from a bunch of research games. I've been watching tons of his games, and I was getting about average timers for a lot of these queries that he was doing, as well as just compared it with some evidence that I already had. But remember, these are estimates. They do kind of vary widely, but these time estimates are champions who can queer these pretty efficiently. So, for example, like a machete queer, these timers won't be the same if you're doing one of the machete queries, but you're playing Rammus. Like, these timers won't be accurate to that. So anyways, all the prerequisites out of the way, let's finally dive deep into talking about each queer. So the first one we're going to talk about is the classic Red Krugs Raptors queer, which is the classic Season 9 queer, which is the full red side jungle queer. This is still a very solid jungle queer for talisman junglers, probably still the premier queer for champions who really like this one. So champions like Rammus, champions like Kane will still really love this queer. As you can see, it takes about 2 minutes 40 seconds to 2 minutes 55 seconds, give or take. It still will give you a ton of XP, 370. That's well above the level 3 mark, so you will get level 3. You get 310 gold from it, and then you'll still have time after that to get a gank off before the crab will spawn, or maybe look for an invade. And so still, in situations where it makes sense to do this queer, like you want to end on this side of the map, you want to reset that entire side of the map for your second queer, then this queer will still be a very, very, very solid queer for talisman junglers in Season 10. So this is still very good. If you're doing this queer from Season 9 and you're playing those types of champions, this queer is still good. You don't have to switch over to a machete queer on a talisman jungler. All right, the next queer we're going to talk about is Blue Gromp Wolves. So this is basically the mirror version of this queer. This is more of a machete style jungler queer. You know, champion like Vi, something like that. The benefit to this query is it is a little bit quicker than our standard standard red Krugs queer. On average, it is slightly a little bit quicker, but one of the downsides to it is the amount of XP you get. This is the bare minimum for XP jungle queer to get you level 3. So this is going to be the lowest XP queer and just about the lowest gold queer out of all the popular jungle queers that I have on here. You do have a little bit more time, so it is possible to get 2 ganks off before the crab spawns, or you know, really look for a deep invade and really kind of get the jump on the enemy jungler. It does give you a lot of time for that, so that is a benefit to this. I would not say this is the premier machete jungle queer because the next one we're going to talk about is pretty much the premier queer for this, but there is a place for doing this type of queer. For example, this lets you queer. I keep saying the word queer, but that's getting annoying. Um, but this does set you up to where you can queer out the entire one side of your jungle, so you can set it up to where that entire side will reset at the same time, so you can revisit that. And if you want to like end on the same side of the map that you started on, then this could make a lot of sense. So there is a place for this, but I wouldn't say this is like the premier machete early jungle clear in the game, because the next one that we're going to talk about is higher in XP, higher in gold, and just a little bit more efficient. So let's just talk about this one. So the next one we're going to talk about is the blue gromp red. Obviously you can reverse these, so it could just be red, blue gromp, right? So you can just reverse them around depending on which buff you started on. So this one, it takes just a little bit longer than the blue gromp wolves on average, because you do have to travel across the jungle because you are doing both buffs and the gromp. But you do get a lot more XP, so you get 20 more XP right there, so that's going to get you closer to level 4, and and resetting your gromp is going to be nice. So it does get you a little bit closer to the level 4 mark. You do get a lot more gold, so you get 15 more gold, and you finish about in the same amount of time. So really, honestly, I think this is a premier machete queer. You can just do this in whatever order on which side of the map you want to finish. So let's say you're on the blue side of the map, so that's the bottom side, but you want to finish on your top side to gank your top lane. Then you can just do red, blue gromp. You'll be level 3. You'll be up there super quick. It's quicker than any of the other queers just about, and you can be up there very fast. Or you're on the same side of the map, right, and you just want to reverse it. I realize I'm looking into a camera, so this is probably reversed, but and you want to do your blue buff and then go to your bottom side. Then you just do blue, gromp, red buff, and then gank bottom side. So just whatever side of the map you want to end on. This clear is pretty versatile for machete style junglers, and even some talisman junglers can still do this clear if they want to, but it's not going to be as quick as if you're a machete jungler. So I really think this is the premier machete clear right now in the game. Cool, and the next one we're going to talk about is Red Krugs Blue. So this is going to be the highest gold and highest XP queer, but it is significantly slower. This is another type of queer that you might want to do just to go ahead and rubber band your Krugs to get a quicker level 4. This is a type of queer you can do this for, and end on the opposite side of the map. So Red Krugs Blue does take a little bit longer. It takes about the same amount of time as your Red Krugs Raptors queer. Just because you're not having to do that type of stuff. This is mainly going to be more of a machete style queer if you want to finish it quicker, but you can definitely do this on talisman junglers as well. So this is a little bit versatile because you can do it on talisman and machete junglers. It is a little bit quicker most of the time on machete junglers because 2 of the camps are single target, and Krugs, a lot of the times you can just fight them kind of like they're a single target camp if you're kiting them correctly, even though they spawn a bunch of children and all that good stuff. So this queer is a little bit versatile. But the reason why you'd want to do this queer is it early resets your Krug, so you can get a quicker level 4, so you can just clear them on respawn, which is, everybody should be used to doing that from Season 9, right? And then you want to do this if you want to guarantee that you want to end on the opposite side of the map, and after you finish your play on the opposite side of the map, you can reset and re-kill your Krugs, and by that time you should be level 4 if you hadn't got it from your top side plays. So just imagine you're starting on the bottom side of the map, so you're the blue side team. So you're starting on the bottom side of the map, you do your red Krugs, and then you look for a top side play and scuttle crab fight. And maybe the play doesn't work out, but then you can reset when that play's over. Your Krugs will be rubber band spawned, and you can clear those and you'll get level 4 off that. So it's pretty efficient and a little bit of a versatile clear. Versatile meaning you can do it on a bunch of different types of champions because it kind of combines the benefits of being a machete or a talisman jungler. So it is kind of a versatile queer in that regard. But you'd want to do this queer if you want to end on the opposite side of the map, reset to get a level 4 off of that, or just get a high XP camp and then gank for your bottom side right there. So you can do a lot of setup for that. All right, so just by the math, the most XP per second queer is going to be the blue gromp red. It's definitely the premier queer right now to getting the quickest stuff. I just got a Twitch follower that scares me every single time I have this running. For whatever reason, I always get these follower notifications when I'm just recording a video. It makes me, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, it scares me, man. Anyways, but the most XP per second, blue gromp red, or vice versa, just reverse order, whatever that is going to be the most time efficient per the amount of XP you'll get on your first queer. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the best queer overall, but I do think this is the premier machete queer. Okay, let's talk about some popular 4-camp queers. We're going to talk about these real quick. So red Krugs, Raptors, blue. So red Krugs, Raptors, blue. So that's just doing the full red Krugs queer, and then just adding your blue buff on the end. So that's doing your full queer, and then maybe you just decide to do a 4th camp because you don't have any plays on the side that you ended on. There's just no plays to be had. You go to the top side and do this. We'll give you 485 XP. This will get you very close to level 4, if not completing to level 4. And 410 gold. And then after that, the crab will be spawned, or you might be slightly late to the crab spawning. So you can either choose to do the crab on that side of the map or look for a play on that side of the map and then do the crab after the gank. So this queer is just a really high XP queer that you can do, and you'll end on the opposite side of the map than where you started. So it'll be on the opposite side of the map if you want to end on that side of the map. So just plan that accordingly to what's happening in the game. And you'll get level 4 off the crab there, or you can look for a gank fight around the crab. Cool. So the next one we're going to talk about is red, Raptors, Wolves, blue. This has become kind of a popular queer because it's a pretty quick, it's like the quickest 4-camp queer. And it's mostly good on talisman junglers that can do the Raptors really well. So if you have a champion who can do the Raptors really well, or some machete junglers can do the Raptors really well, like a champion like Vi is a pretty solid machete Raptors queer. She has a lot of AoE just built into her kit. This is the quickest 4-camp queer, and it gets the most of your camps reset so that they can respawn quicker. It does include your blue and your red, so those do take a while to respawn, but is the quickest way to get 4 camps to respawn. So it is a lot less XP than the other 4 camps queer, but it is quickest and it kills the quickest, and you could just do a 5th camp tagged on here on the end, but you would not be at the crab end time if you tagged a 5th camp on here. But this is the only 4-camp queer that you really have time to perform a gank before the crab actually spawns. So we do have time for 1 gank, and then 1 gank maybe, and then the crab a lot of the times right there. Cool. We're going to look at blue, Gromp, Wolves, red. So blue, Gromp, Wolves, red. Cool. So this is going to be a machete style jungle queer. And this is also another type of queer. When you do 4-camp queers, you want to end on the opposite side of the map. And it's more of a farm style queer. This will give you a little bit more XP than the previous queer that we had right there, 460 and 390 gold, and you'll be there just in time for the crab to spawn or just before the crab will spawn. So this can be pretty nice if you just want to make sure you get 4 camps down. This does include both buffs, and you will end on the opposite side of the map. So just set this up however you want to be. If you want to be on the opposite side of the map because you want to avoid the enemy jungler, or you want to be on the opposite side of the map to fight the enemy jungler and be on that side for the 2v2. So this is a pretty quick 4-camp queer that's going to get you there, and it's more of a machete jungler focused 4-camp queer. All right, now we have the red Krugs, blue Gromp. So red Krugs, blue Gromp. This is going to be the most XP and the most gold because you're doing all the outer camps. The outer camps are the most gold and the most XP along with the buffs. So we have red Krugs, blue Gromp, or you can do this in reverse order, blue Gromp, red Krugs. So this is for champions. This is the most amount of gold, and it does take the longest. So this is a little bit more niche whenever you can do this, but it's for champions who can queer pretty well the Krugs, as well as do fine into the single target camps as well. So a champion like Graves would be able to do this queer. A champion like Olaf would be able to do this queer. A champion like Vi would be able to do this queer. So champions like that would be able to do this queer because they can do the talisman queers, and they can do the machete queers just fine. So this is probably not super efficient, but if you want to do a farm style heavy queer and you don't want to do a full queer, then you can do this one, and this will give you level 4, and will give you 430 gold. And so you'll either get to the crab as soon as it spawns, or a little bit late to the crab. Very niche scenarios when you want to do this, but I just wanted to show it right here. Probably, honestly, in my opinion, the premier 4-camp queer is really depending on who you are, is going to be red, Raptors, Wolves, blue. Even though, because that's the only 4-camp queer that actually gives you enough time to prep the crab spawn, or to get a playoff if you want to actually do a 4-camp clear. Mostly, I think 3-camp clears are where it's at, unless you're playing a really power farm style. I think 3-camp clears are really just where it's at. I think making plays is really important. But if you want to do a 4-camp clear and you want to get most camps down and get a playoff, then this clear will be fine right here, the red Raptors Wolves blue. Another one that is good is the red Krugs Raptors blue, and that's more of a talisman style jungler, and it's pretty high XP. But the most XP per second on average, and this is very niche because only not every single champion can do this style of clear, and it makes sense for them. Is actually going to be the red Krugs blue Gromp, which is the longest one, but it gives you way more XP and gold because you're doing it on the outer ones. So it does actually give you the most bang for your buck based off the math, but I do not think it's necessarily the best clear, but it is a clear you can do. But I'm a big fan of 3-camp clears anyways, and 4-camp clears. I hope this was educational. I spent a lot of time making this, and we kind of dove into the math. I know it kind of rambled a lot. I know I said the word clear a lot, but I hope this was helpful to you guys, and hope this maybe helped some of you guys out to do the stuff. When you're doing jungle clears and talking about jungle, it's really hard to be super specific unless you're doing specific clears for specific junglers. I was trying to be really broad and talk about just what the math tells you about what jungle clears are efficient for what types of champions, for machetes and talisman junglers. So I hope that got across. I hope you guys liked it, and that's going to be it for this one. So make sure, I normally don't say this in the video, but if you haven't subscribed and you really like this stuff, I make a lot of content around jungle, professional play, and then we're going to be branching out to other stuff pretty soon, but we're going to focus on this niche right now, and then we'll kind of branch out a little bit more. So if you like League of Legends stuff, then consider subscribing. If not, that's okay. But I hope you guys all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye-bye. Bye.